If you've ever thrown kitchen scraps into the bin and felt that quiet sense of waste, well, you're touching the same problem our ancestors solved out of necessity. Today, we're uncovering how entire gardens were once regrown from what most people now discard, using methods refined long before seed catalogues and hybrid guarantees existed. Before we go any further, subscribe to the channel and stay with us, because this isn't about trendy regrowing hacks. This is ancestral husbandry, the kind that kept households fed when seed was scarce, trade was unreliable, and survival depended on knowing how to make life restart from almost nothing. For most of human history, saving seed wasn't enough. Seeds failed, seasons shifted, and stored grain spoiled. What endured was the ability to regenerate plants from remnants. Roots, crowns, cuttings and trimmings were treated as future food, not waste. This knowledge crossed cultures and climates because it worked everywhere. Modern gardeners often rediscover one plant at a time. Ancestors understood the entire system. The first principle of ancestral regrowing is understanding which part of the plant carries memory. Leaves feed, stems transport, but roots remember. Anything with a living crown or node can restart growth if conditions are right. This is why onions, leeks, garlic, celery, brassicas, and many herbs were historically regrown instead of resown. When trimming these plants for cooking, a portion of the base was always left intact. That base was returned to soil or water immediately, never allowed to dry out. To apply this today, save the bottom 2 centimeters of onions or leeks, place them root side down in moist soil, and keep them shaded for the first few days. Growth resumes not by chance, but because the plant's stored energy remains intact. Another forgotten method involves regrowing through division rather than sprouting. Root crops like potatoes, yams, and even certain gourds were cut deliberately so that each piece contained at least one growth point. These weren't scraps in the careless sense. They were planned fragments. Cuts were allowed to dry slightly to prevent rot, then planted shallowly. This technique multiplied planting stock without additional seed. In practical terms, a single purchased potato can become 10 plants, if divided correctly and given time to heal before planting. Herbs were, treated as living reserves. Stems of rosemary, thyme, sage and mint were never stripped bare. Instead, cuttings were taken from semi-woody growth and planted directly into shaded soil or even damp sand. Our ancestors knew not to rush sunlight. Roots form best in cool, stable conditions. These days, you can take a rosemary cutting, remove the lower leaves, press it into moist soil, and just keep it protected for about 2 weeks. This method produces plants that are identical to the parent, preserving traits that have been valued over generations. One of the most powerful ancestral techniques is honestly regrowing from crowns and cores. Cabbage, lettuce and brassica cores were not composted right away. They were placed in shallow soil, often in kitchen gardens near the home. While modern regrowing usually stops at decorative leaves, ancestral practice allowed these plants to fully re-establish. Given enough soil depth and time, they would bolt, flower, and eventually produce seed, completing the cycle. This is, in fact, how seed sovereignty was maintained long before commercial breeding ever came along. Fruit regrowing followed a different logic, Seeds were saved, but, cuttings were preferred whenever possible. Figs, grapes, berries, and many fruit trees were propagated by layering or hardwood cuttings. This preserved proven genetics, which is rather important. Scraps from pruning were valuable, not to be wasted. To apply this today, just take a dormant cutting from a fig or grapevine, bury about 2/3 of it in soil during the cool months, and wait. This method connects you directly to how orchards were expanded without nurseries, really. What ties all these methods together is timing. Ancestral regrowing was not rushed. No, not at all. Scraps were replanted according to season and moisture, not just convenience. Winter favoured root establishment. Spring favoured leaf growth. Summer favoured cutting propagation under shade. Understanding this rhythm is what makes the difference between success and disappointment, honestly. Equally important is soil preparation. Ancestors didn't plant scraps into dead ground, certainly not. They returned them to living soil enriched with compost, ash, and aged manure. The goal was not feeding the plant directly, but supporting the organisms that would assist it. Today, even a simple mix of garden soil and compost dramatically improves regrowth success, you see. Regrowing an entire garden from scraps isn't a novelty, not by any means. It's a system built on observation, restraint, and respect for plant life cycles. It reduces dependence on external inputs and builds resilience, which is so vital. Once learned, it changes how you see waste forever. If this guide added real value to your understanding of ancestral husbandry, subscribe to the channel and share this episode with someone who still believes food only begins at the seed packet. These methods survived because they worked, and keeping them alive is how we ensure they continue to feed future generations.